Hello? Hello. Yeah, I think it's audible now. Great. I'm sorry. We'll just get back to that. I hope I'm audible now. So this is my Telegram link and this is my Unacademy profile link. So as I told you, I have cleared all the exams. So I'm, I guess, quite credible to give you all the information that you require for the MBA exams. Is that okay? Better? All right. So Mandar and Rushi are there, right? Great. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry for the delay. Sorry for the voice problem. Usually it doesn't happen with the mic. All right. So our agenda for today is to do para jumbles, some vocabulary, a couple of questions on paragraph summary, and lastly RC practice. Today I'll teach you how to do a RC, and then maybe from tomorrow onwards we'll start practicing them in more detail. So I hope I'm audible to everybody now. There are 6 people in the class right now. So it will be helpful if you could please tell me your names. I'll be able to address you in a better manner. All right. With that, you can catch up us on YouTube, which is Unacademy CAT4MBA, and Telegram channel. I have already shared mine. This is the group channel, so you can join us anywhere you like. Uh, no, Prasanna, it's not a marathon as yet. Today we'll do a couple of questions. I'm just warming you up to a test series because while I was preparing, in the last 2 months that I was preparing, I did as many questions as I could. So starting from the easier ones, today we'll do a simple para jumbles. Starting from the simpler ones, in the coming 2 months, we'll move on to the most difficult part of CAT. But why am I starting with the simple ones? Because I want to get the fundas right. In the first few classes, I will teach you the fundas that help me clear all the exams. And in the coming sessions, I leave it to you. We'll do the most difficult questions and we'll discuss them in the class. Is that okay? All right. So on the plus section of Unacademy, you can chat with the educators. You have live tests and quizzes. All the courses are aligned with the CAT syllabus. And one subscription of Unacademy gives you access to all the live and recorded courses that we have on Unacademy platform. For 12 months, the fee is 15,750 and you can use my code SBUS to get an instant 10% off. And for 24 months, the fee is 18,900 and you can use my code SBUS to get a 10% off on your Unacademy subscriptions. With that, the first question on your screens, that's a para jumble. All right. The para jumble is about French Revolution. So I'll give you 3 minutes to read. And then in the next one, you can answer me A, B, C, D, whatever you feel is the correct option. Is that okay? Should we start? And please let me know if you have any feedback, if we can make it any better. I would be all in to do that. So your time starts now. I'll give you another 3 minutes to read it and answer it. Another 2.5 minutes to go. I'll start putting up a timer from the next session so that you know when your time is up. Okay, hang on. Just give me a moment. I think I can do that. Hope this is better. There'll be a couple of problems today because it's my first class too, but I guess we'll get better from the next class. All right, can I please have the answers? It's actually, see, the entire parajumble is not about reading the sentences. It's about getting the sequence of pronouns right. So, anybody with answers? Right, Shivam is actually correct. Harshvardhan, it's not A, it's actually D. And we'll see why it is not A and why it is D. So, see, any parajumble, any paragraph that actually starts, usually the best way when how do writers write is they tell you the central idea of the para, right? The introduction to the para. So, out of all these sentences, right? So, Shivam, could you please pay attention? Sorry, Shivam has done it correctly. Harshvardhan, if you could please pay attention. The first thing actually describes what French Revolution is. However, your option number B is a simple introduction to what French Revolution is all about. It's a modern revolution, an idea that can transform the world, etc., etc., etc. Now, obviously, the French Revolution will not be again followed by the French Revolution. You will, if you have a coming sentence, it will be followed by some pronoun which is actually referring to the French Revolution. So definitely option number C will never be in the top. We don't even have the options. All options, that maximum options start with option number B or option number A. So A, I already told you, it's not an introductory sentence. So we will not start with A. That means option number A and option number C will definitely not be our choices. Now we have to decide whether B will be followed by A or B will be followed by C. So as I told you, you once talk about, even when you write in normal English, if you write the French Revolution did so, 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 then you will not have another sentence following with the same, the French Revolution, blah, blah, blah. No, that means this will be an introductory line to some other para or to a next idea. That's why your B will be followed by C, because it is talking about it invented a modern revolution. Now, when they're talking about a modern revolution, what modernity are they talking about is actually given in point number C. That's why it is followed by C. And now we have since talked about the French Revolution. Now we want to introduce a new idea. What that new idea is, what is that new universe? Then we'll go to point number A and followed by D, because D cannot be a standalone sentence. It cannot be something which introduces. It has to be something which concludes. And this, if you read the sentence number D, that the vision is enshrined in the Declaration of Rights of Man, and if you have a couple of ideas about French Revolution, then this is basically what was the conclusion of the French Revolution. So definitely it will be the last sentence. If we actually are able to figure out that A, B should be followed by C and this should be the last sentence, automatically your option number D becomes the choice of answer. Is that okay? Understood? Is Harshvardhan, are you clear? Shivam, are you okay? All right. So let's move on to the next para jumble. I'll do one thing. If you're not able to read it, I think today you'll just have to manage by that. Maybe in the next sessions, I'll put my photograph on the down session. Yes? All right. So another 3 minutes to you to read and answer. This one is a little tricky, so you might have to read it again. And I will share the PDF in the comments section so that you can have the PDF of this entire thing, because the explanations have been given in detail along with the para jumbles. All right, another 1 minute and then we'll start. All right, another 30 seconds to go. So any more answers for para jumble 2? Harshvardhan, Shivam? Any answer? CDAB. All right. Harshvardhan and the two others. All right. Shivam is correct. Yes, it is CDAB. Shivam, do you want me to explain this? Yes, Harshvardhan and Shivam both are correct. Do you guys want me to explain this or should we move forward with the next question? Because we actually need to reduce the time to do it. And to actually reduce the time to do it, the best thing is first to figure out what can be the first one. See, if you actually want to reduce the time to do it, then A will always be followed by B because A talks about impeccable conditions, right? So if you're talking about conditions, then B actually describes those impeccable conditions. So A and B is in either option 1 or option number 3. So either it could be A, B, C, D or it could be C, D, A, B, right? Next question. All right, we'll just go. So finally, but A, B, C, D cannot be there, right? Because then B and C are not on following terms because we are first describing the environment. So that's why CDAB looks like more the introductory passages that we can have, which will be preceding AB. All right. Let's come to question number 3, para jumble 3. This is a little difficult one as per the color coding. So I give you another 3 minutes to read and answer. Another 1.5 minutes. One minute. Okay, Harshvardhan has already answered. Shivam? Shivam, waiting for your answer as well. The time is up. Okay, Shivam says it's ACBD. Harshvardhan, you are correct. It's CBAD. Now, I know the confusion here is like, guys, the biggest hint here is three, sorry, two options out of four actually begin with a C, right? So, usually in the CAT examination, that what I've seen, not in the CAT, that anywhere, you first, if when I was there, I used to check with what maximum options begin with, because that is likely the answer, because people will get confused in finding out what follows next. So there will be a slight difference in the options that will be following the first letter. So by that, we should actually first check for C. So yes, C and A both look like something from which a paragraph can actually start. Now, the confusion remains that either if we start with A, then see, if both of them are paragraph starters, right, then C will never follow A. Then A has to be followed by something which is the second thought in the para, not the first thought. However, if you look at A and C both, they are both paragraph starters. They are the introductory paras. So A will definitely not be followed by C. And hence here, Shivam, ACBD will not be the answer. Now the confusion remains between CABD and CBAD. With the same logic, CABD also is not feasible. You are left with BADC or CBAD. Now, when we are talking about option number B, it is actually starting with a NOR. That means it does require something which is preceded to it. Definitely, option number B cannot be your choice. So, ultimately, you are left with option number C. That's one way to solve it. That's the easier way. The difficult way to solve is it when you read it, you understand that the answer either starts with C or A, but since A has already been eliminated because A cannot be followed by C, so if you start with C, now C has to be suffixed by an example, because you are saying there is a standard that exists. For example, dollar, it is there, and though there are ups and downs, you cannot replace dollar by a euro or the renminbi. So you need to give another example. Now another example actually comes in your sentence number B, which talks about that where if there are Chinese, Russian or Indian culture, they will not be able to shoulder aside the American version of high or low, who's very ingrained into our society because of the lure of the Harvard and the Hollywood. So that's why your C will be followed by B. Now obviously, if you have two more sentences, if it was a 5 para jumble, then there would have been confusion. But as we did in the last question also, this looks like the operating sentence and this looks like an example. So A has to be followed by D and not D has to be followed by A. Hence option number C becomes your correct answer. Is there a confusion or are we clear? Are we clear, Shivam? Why ACBD cannot be the obvious choice? If you read the explanations that I've given with the para jumbles, it will become amply clear to you that instead of, reading the whole sentences and trying to make meaning out of it, it is actually better to look at the options and see which can be followed by what. Is that okay, Harshvardhan and Shivam? Are we good? Should we move on to para jumble 4? All right. Here I will give you a little less time because it's an easy para jumble. Very easy, in fact. So I'll just give you 2 minutes to read and answer. All right, another 30 seconds. Harshvardhan has already answered. See, if my speed is a problem or if the way I solve questions is a problem, please feel free to ask doubts. All right, because since I gave the exam, the way I'll be solving is like a typical student who wants to get into CAT. I will not be explaining you everything. So if you feel that an explanation is due somewhere, please do ask me. Shivam, I need your answer too. All right, so I'll go ahead. Both of you are correct. So we'll move on to the next question. This was easily done because yet there were no flowers over 2/3 of the time. Then definitely we'll be talking about the flowers, and definitely they have appeared more recently. So option number C will precede option number A. So B, D, C, A. I guess this is fairly standing on its own. Let's come to para jumble 5. Harshvardhan, the confidence will come for the theta question because I've been there. Um, it comes by practice. There's no other way to gain that confidence, Harshvardhan. And since there's no negative marking, you can very well take that risk. You will have to take that risk. There's no other way around it. So as many parajumbles as we do for 4 groups of 4 sentences, 5 sentences, or 6 sentences, the more confident will you become. And as I told you, the options have to be set up. What has to be the best way to actually do it is to set up the first and the last sentence. If not the last sentence, either set up the first sentence or set up the last sentence. The rest will fall in place. Is that okay, Harshvardhan? Okay. Another 1.5 minutes. Because I remember while I was studying, I used to solve whatever questions used to come my way. Whatever material I was given, I used to practice it over and over again, just to be very sure that I'm not making the same mistakes again. CAT is pretty predictable that ways. You know the way questions will be structured. So if you have a slight idea, I think you can get them right the first time. All right. So Harshvardhan, Shivam, time to answer. The last para jumble for today. This is the easiest one. Now, as I told you, Harshvardhan, when we practice, we'll get the easiest answer. Shivam, I'll teach you another trick with this. I already taught you this trick. Now I will teach you how to actually use it in this para jumble. Yes, I guess Shivam actually used that trick. It's DCBA. Now, how do we actually get to use that trick? Harshvardhan, listen very carefully. You'll be very sure. Now, read this sentence. I don't know why you did BACD, BADC. If you look at sentence number C, the main beneficiary of this shift from explicit political clashes to new forms of culture has been identity politics, right? They've talked about identity politics. The only sentence which actually describes identity politics is option number B. If you go to option number D, they are first talking about identity politics and then they are again using it in option number C, right? However, option number C actually explains the formation of the identity politics. So what will come first? The formation or the definition? It's only when the idea of identity politics have been introduced to you, then we will do the definition part, right? The idea of equality was far ahead, was far there before, even when it was first put out in the French Revolution. So you need to have the idea first. Question number C gives you what identity politics is about. What is the idea? And option number B describes to you what identity politics is. So if we know, we should know that C has to be followed by B in any of the options. Now, if C has to be followed by B, it is either option number B or option number C, and not option number D or option number A, where C is not followed by B. Is that okay? Harshvardhan, are you there? Now, we have to decide what should be the first sentence. So D we have already figured out, I guess, since you answered this. D will be the first sentence because D actually tells you about what is happening, what is identity politics, what are the functionalities. It's a broad idea. So D is the major idea. C narrows down the idea of identity politics. It introduces the concept. B explains the concept. And finally, A is the application of the concept. So A will come in the last. Is it understood? Okay. Let's move on to paragraph summary. This one is the easiest paragraph summary that we have. I will give you 2 minutes to read and to select the option. So your time starts now. All right. So I need an answer to this one. It's pretty easy actually if you understand the basics of this. Any answers so far? Shivam, Harshvardhan? Shivam, what is your answer? Shivam is saying C. Okay. Harshvardhan is also saying C. Anybody else wants to answer this? All right. Interestingly, guys, actually see, if you read this clearly, what they are saying, option number C, which you have told me, is one of the ideas. It is directly this sentence, right? That they will stifle the freedom. It is basically the last sentence. Now, I guess how you are working around it is, you are suggesting that whatever is usually the last sentence of the paragraph is also the answer. Interestingly, that's not true. If you actually listen, if you actually read this entire paragraph together, what they are trying to say? They are trying to say that totalitarianism does not necessarily require violence, or require diktats. What are diktats? You give out an order. You start dictating people what they're supposed to do, what they're not supposed to do. But if you actually have been following the Modi regime quite closely, what does Modi do? He doesn't dictate orders. What he does is he has a very powerful oratory style to say that the opposition is wrong. He can rally the masses, right? He tells the masses that something of this sort has to be done. So Hitler was also a very good orator, but other than that, he also used terror to make people do what he wanted. Now, what this paragraph is suggesting, that you need not be violent like Hitler. What you can simply do is, propagate, have a propaganda like the RSS did, that women wearing short skirts are characterless, right? Or you go and say that Valentine's Day is not a part of our culture, Hindu culture should be pushed. So it's like, say something 100 times and it becomes the truth. So what they are saying, you can use uh, oratory, you can use mass promo rallies to give out your point so that masses rally behind you. Once what happens is, it's called a group belief. You know, people are like sheep. If a couple of groups believe in a certain idea, they will not sit quietly till they make others think like them. So it will be a group think. That's what despotic establishments can resort to. So the central idea will be option number D, that intellectual liberty does not necessarily need to be repressed by authority. Why? Because if there is a central idea in the entire population that something is wrong, then people themselves, will start stopping other people from writing or saying something which is not in alliance with what they think. So self-appointed vigilance, they will start questioning their beliefs. If a 80% of class is saying something, for example, Harshvardhan and Shivam, it might be happening to you also when you're listening to me. If Shivam answers something, that makes Harshvardhan thinks whether he's right or not. So similarly, people will start questioning themselves when there is mass oration, when somebody is actually compelling you to think otherwise. Then you will yourself start thinking that whether or should I should think otherwise of it or not, or maybe I should keep quiet and listen to others. So that's what self-regulation and self-censorship is. But that comes not by authority, but that actually comes because they have stifled your ability to think clearly. So that's what the paragraph is talking about. That's why option number C is just a brief, it's one of the ideas of the para, but not the entire idea. The central idea of the para is option number D. I hope I'm clear. Let's move on to the next question. Paragraph summary 2. Again, it's a pretty easy one. It's a similar kind of paragraph. So I give you 2 minutes to read and then I'll explain. And I hope this one is correctly done. You don't have to catch just one idea. Read the para, try to understand what the paragraph is saying, and then look at the best options. And choose the option which does not just tell you about one idea, but which actually summarizes the entire ideas. Or the better way to do it, read the para, write down what are the ideas that are coming in 2 or 3 points, and then try to figure out which of these options completely fit the para. Shivam and Harshvardhan, are you still with me? I'll do one thing here. I'll actually shift this a little down so that you can see it clearly. So another 30 seconds and then we'll start. All right, any answers so far? Harshvardhan, Shivam? Guys, इतना time नहीं रहेगा exam में. All right. Harshvardhan says option number B. Shivam, what about you? All right, I think I've given enough time. So are you answering, Shivam? Still reading? Confused? Don't be confused. You're confused. All right, confusion दूर करते हैं अभी. देखो यार, ये जो पूरा है इसमें कुछ कुछ सेंटेंस, लेट्स जस्ट ग्रैब अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ सेंटेंसेस. नाउ इफ यू रीड, we'll do it in a little different manner. All right, we won't just read the para and try to come up with the options. Let's read the options first. Okay, everywhere they are talking about myth of social transformation, myth that the societies can be transformed, right? Modern state and myth of social transformation. This is a pretty much, recurring theme. Now let's check it here in the paragraph where we are talking about the myth of social transformation. So it is this line which says, the myths that possess these anarchists in their campaigns of assassination were secular myths of social transformation. What this is saying is that whenever there was anarchy, whenever people were using force, whenever people were using what do you say, terror, they always felt that whatever we are doing is for the greater good. We are doing it for social transformation. See, I'll tell you one very interesting thing about humans. Even if we are doing something wrong, just to prove our conscience right, just to make our conscience right, we will give a good explanation towards it. We will say, I did this thing wrong, but it was important to do because it is for the greater good, or it will benefit somebody else or me in the longer run. So what they are saying is, yes, there have been violence, which is because of apocalyptic myths, not always explicitly religious in nature. So that means most of the violence that we have had in the modern history is because of religion. Hindus fighting Muslims, Hindus fighting Punjabis, Hindus fighting Sikhs, Hindus fighting blah blah blah. So all those non-secular, religious in nature, violent events we have had. Here what they are saying is, some of the people, they tried to do something because they said whatever they'll do will actually transform the society for a better thing. Now, I don't know if you've read about Jacobin. So Jacobin is a character from the world history, right? This person, he actually went against, talking about saying that the industrial revolution that we are having is not a good one, and it will actually sacrifice a lot of people's what do you say, livelihood. Now, having said that, just let me go back to your class. Okay. All right. Having said that, he started opposing the mechanization process. So similarly, what the Nazis did or what Lenin did in Russia. Talking about this, the central idea is option number B, which I guess Harshvardhan answered. So they are saying every totalitarian movement, every dictator thinks that he can better the society. And the jihadist also, they also feel that the current way in which the society is running, it's actually not a good thing. We need to have, what do you say? We need to have a better society, and if for that we need to use the violence, we will surely do it. So it's option number B, right? I hope it's understood now, and why it is not option number C or D, because option number D is only a brief idea, it's not even a complete idea. And option number C, it only talks about violence influenced by religion. Option number A only talks about the effect of the entire para, but not the central idea. So it's option number B. Let's come to question number 3. I'll give you 2-3 minutes to read and then answer. Yes, I can. Is that good, Harshvardhan? Harshvardhan, any answers? हर्षवर्धन, शिवम, वेट करें? ठीक है. Okay. So Harshvardhan, you are correct. It's option number D. Shivam, क्या confusion है? Why did you say option number B? See, the entire paragraph, the whole central idea of this paragraph is, let's start from our constitution makers. When our constitution was made, majority of the parties or the leaders that were there, they were freedom fighters. So when that majority came together, they were actually thinking about the good of the company, good of the country. Yes, B is mentioned in the para, but not necessarily what is mentioned in the para should be the summary. That is what I'm trying to say. Yes, what they are saying is the central idea of the entire passage is democracy. Yes, democracy means will of the people. That's what democracy stands for. Demo means people, right? And cracy means governance. Now, not necessarily it is a good form of government, because what you do, majority of the people, like we see here in India also, majority of the people, they went and voted for BJP and BJP came into power, or if they voted for Congress, Congress came into power, but not necessarily we will be selecting the right leaders. Unless the leadership is right, democracy is of no use. That's what the entire paragraph says. If the majority does not believe in the rights of the minorities, if the majority does not believe in the rights of the people, or if the majority does not believe in implementing the right things, then your democracy just becomes a facade to implement the will of the people who actually call the shots. It's like that. For example, right now, we say that BJP is actually a government for the business people. The business people completely control the governance. Now, these are the people who are not in the majority, but the business people are a major lobby in the country. And if our selected leaders are influenced by them, then our policies are also influenced by them. And that is why option number D actually encompasses the entire idea. And it is not option number B, because not all democracy is bad. If it was a bad form of government, we were never using it. They are not seeing that democracy means not so much more than no. They are not. They are saying a typical type of democracy where you simply say that, we will implement the will of the people. Your will of the people has to have a check and balance like we have. Apart from having a popular democracy, apart from having a parliamentary system, we also have the judiciary and we also have the executive. So democracy has to be complete with checks and balances is what this paragraph is saying. Is that okay, Shivam? That is why option number B is not correct. Now we'll come to the easy part of the test today, vocabulary builder. These questions will not take you much time. What I'll do is I'll keep shifting them down so that you can read them properly. Shivam, is there still a confusion? Because I know the sentence summary part is a little bit difficult to digest. They are not saying every kind of democracy is faltered. Democracy with checks and balances is good. But democracy just for implementing the will of the people or the majority of the people might not be right. Right? Okay. Harshvardhan says is option number 2. What about you? Okay, everybody is correct. Yes, it's fanatic and ignored. Do I need to explain this or is it understood? Because turbid can't be here. The word doesn't fit. Apocryphal and turbid, they don't even fit here because excited on the other hand will not fit here. That's why option number 3 and 4 are completely eliminated. Option number 1 is eliminated because is almost acknowledged by the society. It doesn't make any sense, and vapid means lifeless, so does not fit the bill. Let's come to option number 2. Yes, Ankit, actually that's the only way to do it. You had a good idea. You have to see which words are not fitting. That's the best way to do the vocabulary part. But other than that, I want you guys to actually go and look for these words. Be very sure about the meaning. Why option number 3, Ankit? Shivam is 2. Harshvardhan? Okay. Guys, Harshvardhan is right. It's option number 4. It actually comes from your normal leading experience. Either it is total or it is blanket bans. Bans usually are followed by this word called blanket. That means complete ban. You usually don't even use total bans. Use blanket bans. That's a common vocabulary thing. So you could have started from here. Any which ways. Now, let's start with option number 2, why it can be eliminated. Justified bans. and clearance delays have brought the natural resource sector in India to a that position. And if we are talking about justified, it's a positive word, then it cannot have a negative impact. This is the cause, all right, and this is the impact. So if your cause is negative, your impact has to be kind of negative. Justified and unsustainable do not make any sense, right? Ankit said option number 3, catastrophic bans. Do you understand what we mean by catastrophic? Catastrophic means something which completely destroys you. It was very, very bad. It was catastrophic. Enviable position, if it was a catastrophic ban, if it was a negative impact, how can it have a positive? If it was a negative cause, if you're causing bans and delays in the natural resource sector, if you're not getting clearances on time, how will it put the resource sector in an enviable position? Enviable means people feel envy of it. People feel that we should be in a position, in the position which others are. For example, if somebody is earning more than you, somebody is working in Google, they have an enviable position. So option number 3 is totally not justified. Second, I explained. First, total bans will never make anything sustainable. If you put a ban on everything, how will this sector be sustainable? So definitely option number 4, blanket bans have made blanket bans and clearance delays in the natural resource sector in India. That means you're not giving environmental clearances, have brought the sector in an untenable, means something which is unsustainable, in an unsustainable position today. Is that okay? So this is negative and the impact is also negative. That is how you do it. Understood? Let's move on to vocabulary builder question number 3. Ankit, Shivam, all of you understood this? Now, this is actually pretty easy. Simple elimination of the options and understanding of verbs, nouns. Ankit says option number 4. Harshvardhan, Shivam, what are your options? Harshvardhan says option number 3. Anybody else? Oral. सारे आंसर दे दो, कुछ मत छोड़ो. कोई ना कोई तो हो ही जाएगा. कभी ए बोल दो, कभी बी बोल दो, कभी सी बोल दो, कभी डी बोल दो. क्यों? All right. Okay. Talking about it, what do you understand by perception? Yes, Ankit. Oral means relating to hearing. Now, anybody, any performer, any teacher, any leader, right, of any assembly, means of any, you're a leader of any group of people, cannot function properly without a high level of vocal perception. No, vocal, this doesn't even go with this word perception. Vocal means speech. You can't have a perception of speech, right? Audible means hearing. You are audible or not. You're not audible means I can't hear you. Doesn't make sense. Oral perception is similar as vocal. Speech ka perception kya karna hai? Doesn't make sense. Oral means hearing. What they are actually trying to say in this sentence is, no person who is in a public position, who actually speaks about something, cannot be good without an equally good listening skill also. Oral perception here means your listening skills, right? That's the only word that goes with it. So it could have been simply done by elimination. Is that okay? Yes, oral means your ability to listen to people. Oral perception together means your ability to listen. Let's come to question number 4. This is again pretty easy. Any answers? यार अब तक तो आंसर आ जाना चाहिए. कितना टाइम लग रहा है? You just have 40 minutes for 34 questions. You can't take this much time to answer this. Suraj, option number 3, are you sure? हर्षवर्धन, शिवम, अंकित, क्या हो रहा है भाई? Three and four. Okay. Shivam is right. It's option number 4. Fun and drudgery. सबसे पहली बात, as I told you, positive, positive, negative, negative. Now, part of the show business, we are talking about show business. That means something which is very glorified. Show business, showbiz is your Bollywood, Hollywood, ये जो सारा चीज होता है, TV, VV is all your show business, right? Then we are talking about real life. That means if you are talking about showbiz, it has to be related to some word which shows excitement. That's all it is about show business. And real life means it will not be so exciting. That's how it usually is, right? Now, routine and ordinary. That means the words that will we have here, since the first context is showbiz and the second context is real life, that means we are talking about opposites here. So either it will be a positive and negative word, or it will be a negative and positive word. It cannot be positive, positive or negative, negative. Routine and ordinary are both same level of words. Routine is very routinary, very ordinary, and ordinary is also ordinary or very routine kind of work. They're kind of synonyms. Attraction and turtle slow. Now, they are opposite word, but look at this. Part of attraction of show business is escaping the turtle show of real life. It can be an option, but let's find the best option. Option number 3 cannot be the answer because boredom and simplicity, they are again both the same level of words with the same connotation. Boredom is thing which is very simple. Simplicity is usually bores us, right? There's no excitement. Now, if you look at this word escaping here, what does go with escaping? Drudgery or turtle slow? What do you want to escape? You want to escape the drudgery of real life. The drudgery means paying your bills, the normal nuances of life, which is, very dull, very, very difficult to bear with. So that is the part of fun of show business. When you go to the showbiz, when you're watching TV, when you're watching movies, you actually escape the reality. That's what we keep talking about. You escape the drudgery of real life. Once you go out of the movie theater, you wouldn't see the Switzerland mountains. You will go, you will pay your bills. You will have to pay that 400 rupee fee for eating that burger or cold drink at the counter. So that's what. It's drudgery word which is most suitable here because we are not talking about the slowness of the life. If you were talking about turtle slow, right, here fun and drudgery are complete opposite words. At one place you're having fun, at the other place you're dreading that experience. Whereas when we talk about attraction and turtle slow is talking about the speed. It's a speed word. Whereas attraction is actually a describing word, something which is fun. All right. Akansha, it's not option 3. It's actually option number 4. Yes, Ankit, that's what I'm telling you. When you're not sure, think about the opposites. That's what I said. Show business is something which is very opposite to real life. That means the words that will fit here will have very, very opposite meaning. So fun and drudgery are two very, very opposite words. That's why this becomes the answer. Otherwise, all the other words, turtle slow is not the antonym of attraction. Then you should have something like quickness. If it is slow, it should be quick. Attraction is not quick. Attraction is just a description of how it look like. All right. Let's move on to the next question. So Ankit, don't worry. I'll teach you all the tips and tricks to solve it. Okay guys, the question is on your screens. Harshvardhan has already answered. Akansha has answered. This one was pretty easy, right? Anybody else? Ankit, Shivam, Suraj. भाई इतना टाइम नहीं होगा एग्जाम के अंदर. You wouldn't have this much time. जो करना है जल्दी करो. All right, I have 4 answers here. Look at this. You are all correct. ये तो बहुत आसान था because wire के साथ the only thing that can go is barbed. So definitely option number 1. Let's move on to question number 8. ऐसे ही quickly जवाब दो मुझे. चलो चलो जल्दी आंसर करो. क्वेश्चन नंबर 8. Okay, so Harshvardhan says 2. Ankit also says 2. Akansha and Shivam. Yes, mushroom is rapidly growing. But mushrooming का actually context बहुत अलग होता है अंकित. Harshvardhan has changed his option. Okay. Shivam, Akansha, कोई आंसर देना है? Akansha is 4. No. It's option number 3 actually. See, prices either soar, soaring means increasing, or going up actually. Or spiraling means they are increasing beyond control. Increasing beyond control. Alright. So, in the bleak and depressing times of spiraling prices, you can't have swelling because boosting crime rates, boosting is a positive word. However, the context here is crime rates, which is negative. Alright. Now, that's there. So, first option to hamara, we know it is spiraling. You can't have rising because debilitating is something which breaks you. Something, a news which comes to you which you don't like. So that's debilitating. So definitely that's not the answer. Talking about spiraling, it could be either mushrooming or soaring. Now, why not mushrooming? Mushrooming is usually used in the context when the growth is uncontrolled, but usually you will talk about coaching centers, right? You wouldn't talk about crime rates. When you are talking about statistics, you usually use the word soar and not mushrooming. That's the difference. Is that okay, Ankit? Mushrooming is rapidly growing, but when you talk about statistics, when you talk about numbers, you don't use the word mushroom. Mushroom is used for growth over an area. For example, mushrooming coaching centers, too many coaching centers in an area. You won't say, but if you say mushrooming numbers of coaching centers, that will be wrong. Soaring number of coaching centers. So soaring is used for statistics when you're dealing with numbers. So that's why option number 3 is your correct bet. Let's come to question number 9. Akansha, is your doubt cleared? All right. चलो जल्दी से आंसर करो क्वेश्चन नंबर 9 का. Great. Harshvardhan has already answered. भाई ये तो बहुत आसान है. कितना टाइम लग रहा है तुम लोगों को? इतना टाइम नहीं है एग्जाम में. जल्दी 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 इंक्रीज योर रीडिंग स्पीड. आज का आरसी हम रीडिंग स्पीड के लिए ही करेंगे. It's option number 4. Harshvardhan is correct. Manners and morals, they usually go together. This is like colloquial English language. Shivam, it's not option number 3. The manners and affluence of the nouveau riche, those people who have become newly rich, is a recurrent theme in the recurrent premise. Oh, it's not a recurrent premise. Premise is actually limited to your one plot. It's not, so if it was premise of the work, premise will always be for a singular work. It will not be for works. All right. If you're talking about works, then there has to be a theme. Theme is something which flows in continuity, which is seen across all your works. So since we are talking about the plural here, it cannot be the premise. Is that okay? And premise also means something else. So it's option number 4. Harshvardhan and Akansha both are correct. Ankit, I did not get an answer from you, but I guess you're getting it. So the manners and the morals of the nouveau riche is a recurrent theme in the works of Jane Austen. Let's come to the last question for vocabulary, and then we'll actually move on to yes. So what are the answers? Come on, be quick. Akansha, Shivam, Harshvardhan, be quick. इतना टाइम नहीं है सोचने का. शिवम, ये गलत नहीं होना चाहिए था. This shouldn't have been wrong. There's a very easy way to do it. See, you always don't, do the things the right way. कितनी बार हम you do the things the wrong way and you get the correct answer. The idea is to get the answer correct. I think Akansha has answered. No, Akansha hasn't answered yet. Akansha has answered option number 1. Harshvardhan, what is taking you so long? Suraj, what is taking you so long? And Ankit, what is taking you so long? I'm answering it now. यार इसमें कुछ करना ही नहीं है. This adds credibility to the fears offer. Can it be vital? Vital means important. Important slope. Does it make sense? No. Pivotal means something again which is very important, which is the pivot which is holding it all together. Pivotal slope doesn't make sense. Slimy slope. No. If you are using the word slimy, that actually means something which is very slippery, right? Very, something on which you can glide on, but not exactly slimy. Slimy is which sticks to your hand. It's not a very positive connotation. And so is slippery. But what we have usually heard is slippery slope. That's the word that goes most with that. Yes, Harshvardhan, you're right. It's option number 4. Now, persuasion looks like a correct word, but slimy does not look like a correct word. Expulsion and preaching, वो तो already out of question हो चुके हैं. Now, exhortations of the pious. What this sentence actually means it, like when we talk about our moral judgments, they are mostly based upon our experiences, what our family thinks about our moral judgments. They are more important than whatever religion or religious people tell us to do, right? It's the moral judgment of our own and of our family that influences us fast, and that actually tells us that if you actually end up making a wrong decision, you are on a slippery slope. That is what this entire sentence means. Is that okay? Now let's come to the RC. I'll give you 5 minutes to read this page. All right? And I will write it here. The part that is covered by my photo, I have written it here. It's an excerpt from the book called, from a story called The Last Leaf. I think you have seen the movie also. I do not know how many of you have seen the movie Lutera. Ranveer Singh and that woman with the very large forehead. What's her name? Sonakshi Sinha. So the topic is from that book only, The Last Leaf, Oscar Wilde's The Last Leaf. All right, Shivam. So I give you another 3 minutes to read this page, then we'll move on to the next page, and then we'll discuss some of the questions. I will explain you the paragraph, and then we'll do the questions. Yeah, that's how I remember her. I don't usually end up remembering her names. All right, Harshvardhan. Another 1 minute. All right. Have we read this? Should I move ahead on the second screen for the RC? Should I move on the second screen? All right, Akansha. All right, should we start? Akansha, have you read it? Done? Akansha, have you read it? Are we done? Questions कर ले फिर? We should start with the questions. I'll explain the passage. Okay, so I'll just explain you the passage. Basically, the passage is about when the woman, Johnsy, she was dying, right? So Johnsy was the nickname for Joanna. Her name was Joanna. It's a story about Sue and Joanna, right? So that was the time, as if you've seen the movie Lutera, she was dying of TB. So in May, they had actually started up their studio, both Sue and Johnsy. He liked to paint, so he was painting at her house. Now, she said a doctor had come to their place, and the doctor told Sue that, she has 1 in 10 chances of living. And the only way she can live is, or Johnsy can live, or Joanna can live, is if she is willing to live, because she has been influenced by pneumonia. Here they are saying pneumonia, in the movie it was TB. All right. So Johnsy or Joanna had this typical thing. She used to feel that the tree that was outside their house, the ivy vine, the number of leaves on the tree is actually dictating the number of days she's going to live. So she asked Sue, how many trees are there? He says only 6. So she was like, okay, now it's already autumn, so the leaves are falling faster. She says, as I will only survive till the last leaf is there. Therefore, the entire story is about the last leaf. So Sue keeps telling her that, you are a very magnificent person and you used to love doing so many things, but you can't actually depend upon the number of the leaves that are there on the tree. And if you want to live, you have to have the will to live. However, Sue has realized that Joanna will only live if there is a leaf. So he tells Joanna that you close your eyes, because I need to open up the shades in the room so that the sunlight can come in and I can paint. So what he was actually planning to do is go and paint a leaf on the tree, and the leaf would be so lifelike that it will stay there till a while. It will not fall. And it is only at the end that Joanna actually finds out that the leaf was painted all this while. The leaves had already fallen down, but the leaf was painted so well that it stayed on the tree. So that's the entire thing about this. Let's go to the question. So how are we, since I explained you the entire paragraph, there is a couple of sentences which are given here. Now, this para was to actually tell you how fast you can read. So your speech should be somewhere, 20 to 30 words a minute. This was a para which was 600 words long. Usually the paras that you will get in your CAT section will be approximately 900 words long, right? So talking about this story, this is how the link actually flows. They have opened their studio somewhere in May, which I already described to you, right? Then Johnsy actually catches pneumonia. After that, the doctor says that Johnsy or Joanna doesn't want to live, right? And Jonah says that there are only 5 leaves left. So that's option number 3. And finally, Sue asks Joanna not to count the leaves. This, Akansha, if you're still here watching this, then I would want you to answer the true and false. So the first statement is Sue and Joanna are best friends. So you have three options: true, false, or cannot be determined. Since you read the passage, can you please tell me what is the answer to this one? Akansha, are you still here? Akansha, it's actually cannot be determined. The passage, at least, does not tell us whether they were best friends, they were lovers, what they were, but they were acquaintances. That's all the passage tells us. They've spent time together. That is what is there, but they are best friends or not, we don't know. So it can't be decided. All right. The second is John C. hates wine. Is it true? Is it false? Is it can't be decided? Any answers, Akansha? This one is actually false. Why? See, in the middle of the passage here, all right? Okay. Here, she says you need not get any more wine, keeping her eyes fixed out of the window. There goes another. See, Joanna actually liked wine. She said, don't get me more wine, because she was thinking she was dying. Otherwise, they wouldn't have drank wine in the first place, drank wine in the first place. They used to drink a lot of wine, but now that she's falling ill, she is detesting wine because she knows she's going to die. So she does not hate wine. Otherwise, she would have, told him in the first place that I hate wine, I don't want it. Or Sue must not even have asked her for the wine, right? Option number 3. The doctor is pessimistic about John C's chances of survival. Is it true? Is it false? Is it cannot be decided? Any answers so far? Akansha? It's actually true. Third option is actually true. Why? Because if you remember, we just discussed, the doctor told Sue, we had the entire conversation. The doctor told Sue that, Joanna's chances of survival are 1 in 10, only if she wants to live. So he's very pessimistic about Johnson's chances of survival. Option number 4. Sue was from California and Johnsy was from Maine. So in this option, you cannot decide because it is not given in the this thing, the para. They haven't mentioned who is from where. They are just saying these people belong from California and Maine. No former, no latter explanation is giving. All right. So this is can't be decided. For option number 5, can you give me an answer? Sue and Johnsy started their studio as they shared many common interests. Option number 5. This one is pretty easy. Any answers, Akansha? Are you still here? All right. The answer for option number 5 is actually true. This we see in the first para itself, that they had common interest. One of them was painting. So they started their own studio. Right? So Sue and John C, they started their studio as they shared many common interests. That studio was started in May. All right. So with that, I'll close for today. Thank you and have a very good night. Hope to see you guys tomorrow.